Real quickly, what I'd like to do now is just show you how to make the prairie points, how to incorporate them into your patchwork, and also how to do a really cool 3D flying geese border that's the easiest flying geese border that you've ever done. Now, in order to accomplish this, we're going to need just a few items. The first is the 1/4" Steam-A-Seam 2, which is made by the Warm Company. The second is our Prairie Point placement guide. We have an acrylic version that we had made up specifically for this purpose, or if you prefer, you can make a plastic template guide. Directions are given in the book for how to make that. And then you're going to need squares of fabric and a hot iron. So let's get started. What we're going to do is take a square of fabric, place it wrong side up on our pressing surface, fold it in half, and press. We're going to take a little piece of our 1/4" Steam-A-Seam 2, place it along the bottom raw edge, bring the folded corners down to the bottom raw edge, and press it into place. The reason I like to use the 1/4" Steam-A-Seam 2 is it keeps it from popping open, so we don't have any sewing challenges later, like it popping open at inopportune times. Again, place your square of fabric wrong side up on your press surface, press it, add a piece of your 1/4" Steam-A-Seam along the bottom raw edge, take your two folded corners, bring them down to the raw edge, and press into place. Pretty easy, not only to make, but really easy to demo as well. The next step is fusing them into our patchwork, and what we're going to need to do is just use the triangles of fabric called for in the pattern. We're going to place a piece of our 1/4" Steam-A-Seam along the bottom raw edge, use our acrylic or plastic template guide, depending on which you prefer, and align it with the short edges of the triangle so it's evenly aligned. Take a prepared prairie point, snug it into place, and then simply fuse. And when we want to do that, we want to make sure that we bring our iron straight up and down so that we're not moving the prairie point out of position. One more time, take our background triangle that we're putting our prairie point on. We're going to align the short edges of the triangle with our acrylic placement guide. We're going to take a piece of our 1/4" Steam-A-Seam, place it along the bottom raw edge, as close to the raw edge as possible. We're going to snug that little prairie point into place, move the acrylic placement guide out of the way, and simply fuse. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take another triangle as called for in the pattern that you're making, and we're going to marry it up with our fused prairie points. So we're going to put right sides together, we're going to marry up those triangles, and we're going to simply take it over to our sewing machine and sew a 1/4" seam. Now today's sewing machines are perfectly capable of handling the extra bulk of the prairie point. And then we're just going to open that up. At this juncture, we have a perfectly fused prairie point that's been added to our patchwork. There's no visible Steam-A-Seam or anything else in there, so we're ready to go. Let me demonstrate that for you one more time. We're going to marry up our fused prairie point with the piece that's called for in the pattern. We're going to go over to our sewing machine and we're going to sew a 1/4" seam. I generally like to press away from the prairie points. That avoids that little bit of extra bulk when pressing. So I'll press away from it just like that, and we'll have again a perfectly fused prairie point. Now the beauty of this is when you have enough of them done, as you can see here with the bear's paw block, you just keep going in according to pattern. You'll get the dimensional qualities of the prairie points. It's so much fun to have this bear's paw with claws. It really adds a lot to the block to have that. And there's many other blocks that are really enhanced by the prairie point. The next thing I'd like to do is teach you how to do the 3-dimensional flying geese border. And it's so simple, it's actually almost embarrassing. What we're going to need is rectangles of fabric and prepared prairie points. And for this step, it's really very simple. We're going to place our rectangle of fabric right side up on our pressing surface. We're going to take a piece of our 1/4" Steam-A-Seam and put it along the bottom raw edge. Take one of our prepared prairie points and place it on the bottom raw edge as well so that it's lined up in the center. And on this first one, you'll see that we have a 1/4" excess rectangle there. And it's only on the first one that we have that. And that's so when we get ready to sew something later, the prairie point doesn't get caught into the seam allowance. Then we're simply going to take another rectangle of fabric, marry it up, go to our sewing machine, So an accurate 1/4 inch seam. Accuracy is always good. Helps with the end results. We're going to take this and press towards the rectangle that we just added. And then we're simply going to repeat the process. And we're just going to keep doing this as long as it takes to make this Prairie Point Flying Geese border as long as is needed to go around the edges of our quilt top. So again, add a 1/4 inch steam-a-seam, add your Prairie Point, fuse it into place, take a rectangle of fabric, go over to the sewing machine, and sew an accurate 1/4 inch seam. Back to the press board, open, press, and then you're just going to repeat the process. And again, when we come over here, you can see just how much fun this Prairie Point border is. It just gives it just another air of dimension that it didn't have before. We're all pretty tactile, so we love the way that it feels. Anyhow, in conclusion, I just want to thank you for taking the time to spend with me today. I hope that I've said something that resonates with you. I wish you continued success in all your endeavors. For more information, please see Martingale & Company about the book, or you can visit www.theniftyneedle.com. Thanks.